Ever feel like your to-do list is out to get you? Like it's personally victimizing you with all those
Yeah.
deadlines and unfinished things you've got?
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Definitely not.
Today, we are diving deep into discipline
Yes.
with excerpts from Discipline is the Foundation of Success in Any Field by Sheldon Howe.
Great book.
Get ready to rethink, well, everything you thought you knew about discipline, because this is not your typical just try harder pep talk.
No, not at all.
Um,
It's interesting how tackles the perception of the word discipline head on. He gets that, it can feel restrictive, like some kind of military regime for your daily life.
right. It's true for many of us. Discipline, I mean, just saying the word, it brings to mind like those workout montages with a drill sergeant yelling in the background, like no pain, no gain.
Exactly. But here's where Howe flips the script. He reframes discipline as consistent control. It's something you develop from within. Like it's about managing your actions, your impulses, even your emotions to create a life with less stress and more intention.
Okay, so instead of feeling like a drill sergeant is cracking the whip, it's about finding that calm sense of control within yourself.
Precisely. Think about those times you've had to be disciplined, even when you didn't want to be. Like a big deadline at work, maybe, or taking care of a loved one. Often it wasn't as bad as you'd imagined, right?
That's so true. I can think about just last month, I was pulling an all-nighter to finish a project, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to be a zombie. I'll be useless tomorrow.
Yeah.
But once I got in the zone, honestly, it wasn't nearly as painful as I'd built it up to be.
Yeah.
And then that feeling I had afterward,
Yeah.
oh, amazing.
The feeling of accomplishment, you showed up for yourself even when it was tough. That's key to what Howe's getting at. Discipline at its core. It's empowering. It's like giving yourself the tools to deal with life's challenges with more agency, and ultimately less stress.
Okay. I'm starting to see discipline in a whole new light here, but what about negativity?
Yeah.
That voice we
Yeah.
all have that's like, yeah, I don't want to, like, how do we deal with that?
Well, Howe throws out this pretty startling statistic. Around 60 to 70% of our daily thoughts, they tend to be negative.
Wait, seriously? That much?
Yeah. And to make matters even more interesting, 95% of those negative thoughts, repetitive. We're basically just playing the same tapes on a loop.
So it's like our own brains are working against us. No wonder it's so tough to be focused and disciplined.
Yeah.
So how do we break free from this spiral of negativity?
Howe introduces this, well, it's a surprisingly simple concept, but it's powerful. It's called the power of yes.
The power of yes. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's all about intentionally shifting your mindset about the tasks that you're facing. Instead of focusing on like the dread or the difficulty, you actively choose to approach them with a more positive, maybe even enthusiastic outlook.
That sounds great in theory, but how do we make that shift when it seems like our brain is like hardwired for negativity?
Howe suggests a practical exercise he calls the Notepad Technique. Okay, so throughout the day, you're going to jot down any negative thought that pops up. Then, challenge yourself to reframe each one in a more positive light.
So, for example, let's say you're facing that mountain of laundry. You know the one. We all have it. Instead of thinking, "Ugh, laundry," you could reframe it as, okay, laundry time. I get to catch up on that new audiobook everyone's raving about.
Right.
You're still getting the chore done, but with a more positive spin.
Exactly. It's about actively looking for the good, even in the most mundane tasks. Shifting your perspective from have to get to.
Okay. I'm on board with reframing our thoughts, trying to focus on the positive, but here's where I get a little stuck. How House claims that discipline can actually make us happier.
Okay.
And that seems a little counterintuitive, right? Like discipline's all about forcing yourself to do things you don't really want to do.
Yeah, it seems strange at first, but think about how you feel after you've actually done something challenging, something you
Right.
really had to like push yourself to do.
I mean, honestly, it feels amazing. Like I'm capable of way more than I thought I was.
Exactly. And that's what Howe's talking about, that sense of accomplishment, like that feeling of having control over our actions, over our choices. It's a key ingredient to happiness, he says. He uses this really interesting analogy, video games.
Video games, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about how you feel when you level up in a game or you finally beat a boss you've been struggling with. That sense of achievement, like you mastered a challenge, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that same drive, that same satisfaction of getting over an obstacle, we can apply that to our everyday lives.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. Instead of just like zoning out in front of the TV after work, we could be challenging ourselves to learn a new skill or cook a healthy meal Organize that messy closet. We still get that little enjoyment of leveling up, but it's actually improving our lives.
Yeah. And that's the difference between discipline being a drag and it actually being a source of happiness. It's not about like deprivation or restriction. It's about getting your actions to line up with your values, with your goals,
Hmm.
and those feelings of accomplishment.
Of growth. They're powerful motivators.
For sure. It's like that feeling of like pride you get after a great workout, you know.
Yeah.
You might have been dreading it like an hour before, but after, you're just buzzing. You're proud of yourself. That's the power of discipline.
Absolutely. And speaking of the benefits of discipline, House points out that it can lead to less anxiety, a greater ability to achieve those big goals we have, those big audacious goals we all have, and even more resilience when we face challenges.
Okay, let's break that down a little. Less anxiety. Sure, that makes sense. When I feel on top of my to-do list, I'm feeling organized. Stress levels definitely go down.
Right.
But how does discipline help with those bigger, longer-term goals? Well, discipline keeps you focused on right now. Like on taking those consistent actions. Sometimes they're small actions, but over time, they add up. They make a difference. It's about playing that long game even when you really don't feel like it.
So instead of getting overwhelmed by this huge goal, we can break it down into smaller steps.
Right.
More manageable steps.
Yeah.
And each step we take, even if it's super small, it's still bringing us closer.
Yes. And that's where resilience comes in. When you're building up that discipline, you're also building up mental toughness. You learn to push through being uncomfortable. You overcome those obstacles, and you keep going even when things get tough.
So we're less likely to just give up at the first sign of a problem because we've trained ourselves to get back up. We've developed that I got this mentality.
Exactly. Like the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Discipline helps you get through the tough stuff, but you actually grow from it.
This is starting to really paint a good picture of discipline. It's not about being so rigid. It's about freedom. It's about feeling empowered. It's about having the right mindset and knowing yourself so you can design a life that matches your values and your hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
But being real, it's not easy to build discipline. Like, we're human, we mess up, we get discouraged. What advice does Howe have for getting through those tough times?
He really emphasizes that discipline is a journey. It's not like a destination.
I like that. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfectly disciplined, like robot disciplined all the time. It's about just showing up and making a little progress. It's okay to have an off day.
Right. And knowing that, it's a little easier to be nicer to ourselves, when we mess up. Howe actually says we should try to focus on progress, not perfection, and enjoy the little victories.
Yeah, those little victories are so important. It's easy to get discouraged when you're only looking at the end goal.
Absolutely.
So how can we get better at noticing those smaller achievements as we're building up our discipline?
One of the best tips Howe gives is he calls if the countdown, then take action method.
Okay, tell me more.
It's so simple. Okay, so before you start a task that you are just absolutely dreading, the one you're going to put off, take a second. Like, find a place where it's quiet, maybe close your eyes, and just count backwards from 10 to 1.
So like you're hitting the reset button in your brain before you do something hard.
Yes, exactly. It's a way to stop those automatic negative thought patterns and just be in the moment. Focus, and the best part, you can do it anywhere. You don't need anything.
I love that tip, and it's so easy. That seems like something anyone can try. I love those little things you can do that make a big difference.
Me too. It's all about figuring out what works for you
Yeah.
and doing it in a way that you can handle. Discipline is not about like forcing yourself into this box. It's about knowing yourself and making a life that really lines up with the things that matter to you.
This has been great. We started talking about discipline, which can sound kind of scary, but now I see it differently. Like, it's exciting. You learn about yourself and you grow.
Exactly. It's not about being superhuman. It's about that inner strength that you can build up to design a life that you are excited to wake up to every day.
It comes back to what Howe said, that discipline is what makes people successful in life, in everything. And not just because it helps us power through stuff,
Yeah.
but because it helps us be our best selves.
Right. It's about that inner drive, that feeling that we can do anything, and it helps us show up as our best selves, like in our relationships, at work, even just with ourselves.
So to wrap things up, I guess the main thing to remember is discipline is not a bad thing. It's about having control and being free. It's about mastering our minds and our actions so that we can create the lives that, that we really want. And that is a really powerful thought.
Absolutely. And as you're working on building up your own discipline, remember you don't have to do it by yourself. Howie talks about how important it is to have a good support system, people you can count on.
That's so true. Surround yourself with your own cheer squad. Find those people who inspire you, who challenge you to grow, and who will be there for you when things get tough. Seek them out, lean on them, and you know what? Celebrate each other's wins. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope you feel inspired to unlock your most disciplined and empowered self, and you can start today.